My name is Ivan, and I've never been much of a hiking enthusiast, so I chose my outfit like they do in the movies. Full camouflage leaf pattern, heavy boots, and a hat with some kind of mosquito net. I couldn't refuse. We'd all agreed to this trip as a group a long time ago. The idea, as always, belonged to Dima. He's our main organizer, always plans everything down to the smallest detail. Coming with us were his girlfriend Anya, brothers Valera and Misha, and Liza, our mutual friend. Dima had mapped out everything in advance. What to bring, what to do, and who was responsible for what. Sounds insane, I know. His plan looked more like survival instructions for the taiga than a regular camping trip with friends. We started our journey in the morning. Thank God I woke up. The air was cool, smelling of damp earth and pine needles. Even though I complained the whole ride there, this forest territory, well, I actually loved it. The grass along the path glistened with dew, sunlight broke through the foliage in long, uneven rays. Everyone had already gathered and we began our trek. Dima walked ahead, unhurried, as if checking the route. "All right, everyone, stay together," he said, turning to us. "We're turning here. We'll set up camp in a couple of kilometers." "What, can't we just walk straight?" Valera grimaced, adjusting his backpack strap. "Like in the movies, find a clearing, pitch the tents, done. Why all this circus with routes?" "Because this isn't a movie," Dima answered without turning around. Valera just sighed heavily and adjusted his backpack, mumbling to himself, "I'm already tired." I walked somewhere in the middle. Anya walked slightly ahead of me. She periodically checked her pocket as if afraid of losing something. A barely perceptible smell of alcohol came from her. Has she already been drinking, I thought to myself, then remembered it was probably hand sanitizer. Strange, but whatever, everyone has their quirks. "Anya, why do you need so much of that stuff? We're going into the forest, not a hospital." Valera couldn't resist. "What's it to you?" she snapped back. "Better keep quiet or you'll be asking me for it later." Liza walked a bit apart. She hardly spoke, only occasionally looked at us or glanced at the trees. "Liza, why are you so quiet?" Dima asked. "Just looking," she answered softly. Dima smiled but said nothing. She really did just look a lot at Dima. Better not to get involved in these stories of unrequited love. The path was narrow, covered with small stones and branches. The trees around became taller, their trunks thicker. Branches in places intertwined so densely that almost no light passed through them. There was a strange feeling that the forest was closing behind us. Why, after watching Liza, did such creepy thoughts start visiting me? We're on a hike in a small forest. Thousands of people have walked here before. No need to worry, I thought. The whole way we walked and chatted. Misha about food, me about games, Dima about the hike. Liza seemed detached, which scared me slightly. Going into the forest with a quiet one, and quiet ones, as we know, better not think about it. Besides, damn, she's just a sweet, shy girl. What am I thinking, really? Misha suddenly stopped and pointed at a tree where small red berries grew. "Look, is this edible?" "I don't think so," Dima said, examining the bushes. "Eat it and we'll find out," Valera chuckled. "Damn, no internet signal, can't Google it. Does anyone have a forest encyclopedia?" Misha continued on, picking up some stick from the ground. "Okay, let's keep going." We didn't walk long, but the strange feeling grew. The forest was quiet, too quiet. No birdsong, only the sound of our footsteps and the rare rustle of wind in the crowns. "Something's kind of empty here," Misha said, glancing deep into the thickets. I was slightly surprised I wasn't the only one who noticed. It seemed to me the others were in high spirits. "Forest is forest," Dima responded. "What, do you need a couple of wolves or a bear to make it fun?" "No thanks," Misha laughed. "Do they live around here?" At one point we emerged onto a small clearing. The grass here was almost white, as if covered with frost, though it wasn't cold. In the middle of the clearing stood an arch. Stone, tall, completely covered in moss. We stopped. "What the hell is that?" Valera muttered, looking at it. "An arch in the forest," Seriously, Dima approached closer, examining it. Maybe it's from some old estate, though when I Googled I didn't read anything about abandoned buildings. Maybe it's a portal. Misha smirked and struck the stone arch with his stick. Looks strange, Anya grumbled. I stood a bit behind and looked at the arch. It was strange, too strange. The stone looked new but covered with moss, as if someone had placed it here recently and disguised it as old. That's absurd. Who would need to do this? Here. But it gave me some hope that they're just building something nearby, and if the forest really starts to scare me, there are rescuers in the form of a construction crew nearby. Maybe they're filming a movie somewhere around here, Dima said, touching the arch. For a moment it even seemed to me as if it woke from sleep. I need to read fewer horror stories. All right, enough, let's keep going, Dima said. We passed under the arch one by one. I went last. Suddenly it seemed to me that something flashed inside the stone opening. I stopped, looked closer. Must have imagined it, probably. I tried to calm myself and followed the others. As soon as I passed through the stone arch, I was overcome with momentary shock. All my friends stood to the side and looked at the arch, as if something in it had caught their attention. I looked back, trying to understand what could have caused such interest, but the arch seemed ordinary, unremarkable. Mixing my confusion with an attempt to joke it off, I asked, "What's wrong? Did I miss something?" Dima, blinking slightly, turned to me with a light, sly smile. "Sound from a stone arch. Don't make things up. Let's continue." Staying on course, 2 kilometers along the path, then a turn at a 38-degree angle into the forest, about 6 more kilometers to the clearing. His tone was somehow mechanical, too polished. "Hey, what's with you?" I timidly asked, interrupting his tirade. Dima shook his head, and it suddenly seemed to me that something was happening in each of my friends' heads, as if Dima's words were some kind of command that everyone mindlessly recorded. "Just explaining the plan," he answered dryly. "Well then, let's go. Why the mumbling?" I tried to restore the casual atmosphere, but inside I felt the strangeness of the situation more and more. Along the way, I tried to talk to Valera several times. Usually talkative, he now, before answering, seemed to freeze for a couple of seconds, as if choosing words for conversation. His answers sounded distant, almost alien, and it began to seem to me that we were discussing something completely unimportant and boring. But he used to like this topic. Okay, maybe he's tired, I thought, trying not to attach importance to it. The others also walked in silence. Damn, did passing through the arch really drain all their energy? This atmosphere was stressing me out. Finally, we reached the campsite. The clearing was spacious and cozy next to a stream, an ideal place for a rest stop. Clearly, Dima had studied the forest map for a long time before planning the route. Dima immediately took the initiative and began distributing tasks. I got the role of scout. Examine the area, collect branches, berries, and look around. Well, at least I'll walk around peacefully, I muttered to myself. Exploring the forest, I noticed Liza. She was collecting water from the stream, but her movements were frightening. She stood absolutely straight, not bending her knees, and just leaned forward as if the bucket would fill itself with water. I chuckled, deciding she was just being lazy, though worry stirred inside me. However, thoughts of Liza often distracted me. Strange or not, I think I liked her. Same kind of person as me. Rarely goes outside and therefore not talkative. That's the whole explanation for her unsociable behavior. I smiled to myself, noting how stupidly infatuation can erase any anxieties. Walking around, I heard Misha chatting somewhere nearby. His cheerful voice lifted my mood. Finally, he's not silent. But when I returned to the clearing, I was overcome with bewilderment. Misha stood alone and was talking to the trees. "Hey, Miss Ka, responsive audience," I joked, approaching closer. Misha turned sharply toward me. Like Dima before, there was that strange pause before answering. "The main thing is not quantity but quality," he said and laughed. I didn't understand what he meant by that, but decided not to focus on it. Suddenly, his strange jokes that I'd heard when approaching a minute ago flashed in my head. Day into night, home away. Didn't fall while rising, rising didn't fall. What nonsense. Is this Misha's usual humor? I haven't talked to him in a while. Apparently he's overtired after all, I thought, and headed toward Dima and Valera, who were fussing with the fire. Doesn't Miss Ka have a task? He's standing far away, delirious, I asked with a smile. They both looked at me strangely, as if analyzing who I was, and after a pause answered. Dima said dryly, "We need to do everything according to plan." And Valera added ominously, "We don't need extra people on the hike." Their words disturbed me, but I decided not to delve deeper, just shrugged and headed to the fire where Liza stood next to Anya. As I approached, what I saw made me freeze. Anya sat by the fire and was spraying herself with hand sanitizer all over herself. The smell of alcohol hit my nose, and Anya, not even flinching, continued slowly but surely spraying every centimeter of clothing with that stinky bottle. Liza stood nearby with an empty bucket. Wait, empty. Wasn't she supposed to fill it with water? Well, God forbid Dima gets angry. Yeah, pull yourself together, maybe she needs help. This way I'll get to know her better. And Anya, well, that's Dima's concern. Liza, where's the water? Need help? I asked, forcing a smile and ignoring Anya's strange behavior, feeling growing anxiety. Liza turned to me and, like everyone else, froze before answering. Her words sounded frighteningly calm. Number water will interfere with me extinguishing Anya. My mouth opened by itself, and I squeezed out only one word. What? In that moment, the fleeting anxiety that had accompanied me all day turned into real horror. I'm saying that, having developed and planned a plan, I've identified the best and easiest way to eliminate Anya for further rapprochement with Dima, without any harmful consequences for our interaction. Nothing will obviously point to me and my trace in this crime, Liza concluded. Her voice was quiet, calm, almost enveloping, as if she were sharing a pie recipe or describing which route would be faster on the way home. But the words she spoke cut through my brain like shards of glass. I heard my heart pounding frantically. It beat somewhere in my throat, in my ears, in my chest, loudly and rapidly, so much that it almost drowned out her even as if rehearsed monologue. I stood rooted to the spot, feeling my legs buckling. Run or scream? But instead I just stared at her, unable to look away. Her face was calm, even joyful. She said it as if she considered her words logical, correct. I was choking. For a moment the entire surrounding world narrowed to her eyes, eyes in which frightening confidence splashed. But what? Is this a joke? My voice trembled and my mouth stretched in an attempt to pull a weak, forced smile, as if I was trying to convince both her and myself that all this wasn't true. But her face didn't change. I recoiled, stumbling, and took a step back, then another, further away from her. Her gaze, calm and indifferent, seemed to pursue me until I turned to the others. My ears clogged. The dryness in my mouth turned to fire. I bent down to my bag, with trembling hands pulled out a bottle of water and greedily took several gulps. Ice-cold water hit my teeth with sharp shards. It felt almost painful, but it helped bring me back to reality, somewhat. Sitting down on one of the fishing chairs scattered near the tents, I tried to think through what I just heard. She said she would kill Anya. What? It sounded absurd, even ridiculous, but in her voice, in her tone, there wasn't a shadow of a joke. Remembering how Liza had been sidelong glancing all day at giggling Anya next to Dima, I felt an icy lump in my chest. Jealousy, and even a plan, a damn plan. Why did she tell me about it? No, 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 no. This is a joke, just a joke. If it were a real plan, would she tell me about it? And yet something inside me didn't believe this argument. There were too many oddities today. Liza's words now mixed with Misha's incoherent rambling, as if everyone around me was conspiring, or something was happening to them. I ran my palm over my face, wiping away sticky sweat. Slowly, I turned my head back to Liza and Anya. They still stood by the fire. The flame danced in the wind, with long tongues licking the darkening forest edge. Liza stood so close to the fire that the heat should be burning her face, but she didn't blink, not once. Her movements were serenely clear, almost ritual. When she stepped forward, her hand slid to Anya's shoulder, and a light push sent her into the fire. In that moment, time seemed to stop. I jumped up and stood as if rooted. Then I heard only the dull thud of my heart trying to beat me out of this nightmare. Anya fell as if it weren't something important, without resistance, without a scream. The flame instantly engulfed her figure, clothes and hair, and all this happened with terrifying speed, as if the fire had only been waiting for its prey. I wanted to scream and rush to help, but my legs wouldn't move, and instead of a scream, a squeak. The silence was deafening. Anya burned, her hands convulsively jerked, but she made no sound. Her eyes, wide open, reflected the flickers of flame like empty glass lenses staring somewhere through. This wasn't just death, it was something completely unnatural. My head spun, my legs buckled, and I collapsed to the ground, falling off the chair and gasping for air. And then the first scream, but not mine, Anya's. Hoarse, inhuman, as if squeezed out of some broken pipe. Then a second, much louder. And finally, the world filled with the hellish music of her pain. Her scream filled the forest, echoing from the trees, making birds fly from branches. She rolled on the ground, unable to stand, and after a couple of seconds her body froze. That's it. A minute of silent burning, a couple of seconds of screams, and then death. Liza stood motionless like a statue holding an empty bucket. Her face was calm. She mechanically poured imaginary water from the bucket, moving her hands. Her voice sounded monotonous. "I'm trying to help. I'm extinguishing her." "What are you doing?" I screamed, my voice trembling like a torn string, but I could finally say something. "That's an empty bucket." Anya's corpse quieted, the coals hissed. The others ran to the screams, but instead of panic or horror, something completely different showed on their faces. "Damn," Dima frowned, looking at what remained of Anya. "Looks like we'll have to change the plan. Liza, were you trying to save her? Did you fill the bucket with water?" "Nonsense," Valera responded with businesslike calm. "The main thing is not to lose time." I jumped up, my hands shaking, and I pushed Dima in the chest, almost knocking him off his feet. It was Liza. She pushed Anya into the fire. I saw it with my own eyes. Liza looked at me the way you look at an unreasonable child. Her face expressed not the slightest feeling. "That's not true. I was trying to save her. Here's the empty bucket. I poured all the water trying to save Anya." "That's insane. The bucket was empty," I screamed. Dima, furrowing his brows, nodded. "If she was trying to help, then that's how it was. Liza always completes her task to the end." Valera thoughtfully shook his head. "The angle of water delivery could have been unsuccessful. That explains why the fire didn't go out." I wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. Misha, approaching, delivered a monstrous joke, but the words didn't reach my consciousness. Everything around turned into black noise. Everyone I considered friends stood next to Anya's body, charred and smoking, and continued discussing what happened like a broken object. "Have you all lost your minds?" It was Liza. In an instant they all synchronously turned to me. Their faces were detached, cold, artificial. I rose to my trembling feet, realized I was alone, completely alone. The camp again filled with familiar sounds, the crunch of branches, crackling coals, Misha's laughter, and now Anya's dead body. And the forest seemed to watch us with silent contempt.